In this video, I will be talking about the few albums I missed in my top 50 of 2022. These are albums I recently revisited just to see how they resonated with me, and after not hearing them for a while, these are albums that probably could have made my top 50, but they just missed the list. So they're not in any particular order, just going to be 11 albums. They are honorable mentions, so let me just get right into it. The first one is Fit for an Autopsy, Oh What the Future Holds. Now, this one was released in early January, and I had the intention of reviewing it, but that was that same weekend I came down with a pretty bad case of COVID, and I was out for about 2 weeks. I wasn't really making videos, so I kind of forgot about it for a while, and that's why I didn't make my top 50 because I didn't really revisit it that much over the years, but over this year, but it's just really good. It's a deathcore band, and they know how to make music that's original and it has a unique sound. They take chances, but at the same time, they don't lose that core sound. And I think out of all the deathcore bands, this is probably like the best out of all of them. There was another album that came out that same day by Shadow of Intent, and I did not review that as well, for the same reasons. And that one was good, but I didn't include that one. I felt this one was better. I think I enjoyed it a lot. It was heavy and it had lots of songs, has lots of melody. You hear some influence from Gojira, and just really good. That's why it's an honorable mention. Next is Cult of Luna with The Long Road North. This one I reviewed when it came out, and it was my first experience listening to an album by a post-metal band. And my impression was it was very big. It reminded me of the soundtrack to a Godzilla movie or something similar with these giant monsters, and they're all just destroying buildings. The music is just very dense. It's complex. It's the kind of music you can listen to you have to listen to it a few times to really get it. But in the end, I mean, after you listen a few times, you really appreciate it. It's just very heavy music. It's different. And like I said, it's the kind of music that creates this backdrop of sound. It's very big theatrical sound. And, you can just listen to it, close your eyes, and just imagine all these things happening. And so that's why I like that album. Next is Crowbar with Zero and Below. This one was very good. I did review it when it came out. I liked it a lot. I did kind of forget about it a little bit, but then I went back and re-listened to it, and I thought it was very good. I think the word I would use for this album is it's very consistent. When this band releases an album, you know what you're going to get. The sound is heavy. They don't take chances. The guitar riffs are very big. The drums are epic. They're massive, and you just get this big and heavy, sludgy sound. And it's a band you can listen to if you just want heavy, distorted guitar riffs. And just that's what you get. You got lots of melodies as well. Songs are kind of slow, but they're not too slow so that you get bored. They inject a little bit of energy into the songs, and for that reason, I thought it was pretty good. Next is an EP, but I'll mention it. Kirk Hammett with Portals. So it's really good. It's 4 songs, it's all instrumental. Everything I said about that Cult of Luna album applies here. It's kind of like the soundtrack to a movie, but every song is a different type of movie. So we got the first song, Maiden and the Monster, kind of like what I said about a Godzilla or a King Kong movie. Then The Djinn is kind of like an epic fantasy movie and kind of dark. High Plains Drifter, that was a single. And it's kind of like that spaghetti western with a little bit of fantasy. And the last one was kind of like this Lord of the Rings type of sound. It was called The Incantation. And in general, it's a really good EP, just very good instrumental music, so it's worth a mention. Next is Civil War with Invaders. So this band is composed of ex-members of Sabaton. This band has a sound very similar to them. I listened to this a lot when it came out. I think the songs Oblivion and the title track Invaders were repeated on my playlist a lot. I went back and listened to it again. I thought it was very good. I think it has a better front half than the back half, but still worth a mention. I think if you like Sabaton, you like power metal, definitely worth checking out. The vocals probably a little more traditional heavy metal, but also interesting because every song kind of tells a story about history, and they talk about American history, so that part's interesting, and it's pretty good. Not good enough to make my top 50, but it's worth an honorable mention. Next is Wormrot with Hiss. This is a grindcore album, and this one like almost made it, but I just took it off for some reason. I put something else on, but I wasn't really like the biggest fan of grindcore because I always felt like it sounds like a lot of it the same. But this is the type of album. It's 30 minutes long, 21 songs, and they mix in enough styles and other genres so it doesn't sound repetitive. It's original, but you still got that heavy grindcore, but you also got some thrash metal, some death metal, some punk rock, some black metal, and even hear a little bit of like grunge in it. So that was cool. And all under the framework of a grindcore album. So for whatever reason, I didn't make my list, but it's very good. Next is Jack Starr's Burning Star, Souls of the Innocent. This one's very good. It's a throwback to classic heavy metal. Just the songs were memorable. I went back to listen to this one, and it's music. It's not very original. They're not reinventing the wheel, but it's just good heavy metal songs. It's catchy, fun, enjoyable. My favorite songs were I Am the Sinner, Souls of the Innocent, and the final song, Where Eagles Fly. It's all pretty good classic heavy metal. Next is Soulfly with Totem. This is a band led by Max Cavalera. He formed it back in 1995 after Sepultura. And the band is kind of a continuation of that like Roots album, Sepultura, but over the years they evolved, and this album is just very heavy, maybe their heaviest album. They combine thrash, death, new metal, and just other musical styles from their home country of Brazil. It's just a solid album. Like this one, like just missed my top 50. Like if this was going to be an extension of my top 50, this would be like 51. So favorite songs, Filth Upon Filth, Rotten Pain, and the last song, Spirit Animal. 9 minutes long, just very good. Next is Becoming the Archetype with Children of the Great Extinction. This was a band that could have made my top 50. Again, I know I've been saying that, but they are a Christian progressive metal band or death metal band, that kind of like one or the other. They play heavy music, and they also incorporate elements of jazz and funk. Now, I've listened to their other albums before this, and I think the ones before this were a lot better, but this one lacked a little bit of those like jazzy interludes that were more apparent on their previous albums. But overall, it's still very solid. They have an appearance by Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter, and that's a plus. It's a good album, just missed the cut for me. Next is Stratovarius with Survive. Another one that like almost made my top 50. Like, again, if this was an extension of my top 50, this would be 52. Being that I always said Soulfly was 51. So, thing about this album, it's catchy. I went back and re-listened to it again, and I noticed that all the songs do have this like sing-along quality to them. They also have a few songs that are heavier than the others, and some are more like traditional power metal. So I'm not familiar with their entire discography, but I have heard other channels say that this is their best album in a long time. So for that reason, gets an honorable mention. And one more, Disturbed with Divisive. It's just a good Disturbed album. Nothing special about it. The songs are good. They're catchy. They're memorable. Went back to re-listen to it, and it's just enjoyable. They're not doing anything new. It's just Disturbed doing what they do. It's a big improvement over their previous album, and just entertaining in general. Even if they're not like bringing anything new to the table, it's just they brought back that heavy classic sound from some of their older albums that are like the best ones, like Asylum and Indestructible. So it's heavy. David Draymond, like I said in my original review, he makes this band. He makes it really heavy, and he makes it memorable. So it's very good, and that's all. So those are my 11 albums, and that's all I have for end of the year lists. I probably could have included a lot more, but making a top 50 was difficult enough. So I'm going to be dropping a few more videos before the end of the year. I have a tribute to artists we lost in 2022, and I usually post that on either like the 30th or the 31st. Look forward to that. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next one.